Hey guys, I'm Sam Crack, and I've got a little problem. I rolled the dice yet again at the auction on a really rare Jaguar, and when it showed up, its engine sound was as horrifying as Rich Rebuilds deflecting debate questions.
We all know who Big Salvage is influenced heavily by, and that's the Ukrainians as well, and Rich is tight with them.
My ties to the Ukraine are private and confidential.
Now, if you didn't watch the Great Rebuild debate, Rich and I debated one another on the current state of the rebuild scene, and I came out the clear winner. When constantly pressed on his ties with Big Salvage and the use of child labor to perform dangerous repairs on electric vehicles, Rich refused to answer.
There aren't a lot of people of color in the YouTube space, and I think people may tune into me because they say, hey, look at this guy, he looks like me.
Basically, what Rich just said is that if you want to tune into the Goon Squad and watch two kids rebuilding a car, you can have that. And if you want to tune into his channel, you can watch one kid rebuilding his car.
And that kid is...
Cam. That's
No. That's off limits.
Now, all these issues pale in comparison to the major issue I was dealing with all throughout the diag and repair on my most recent project. While working out on the farm on the Turbo Mini, I started to notice an abundance of worms crawling throughout the field. Within a day, they had eaten acres of grass and moved their way from the field to the barn. Besides being freaked out, I was panicked. These little worms seemed to be multiplying by the hour with no end in sight. I knew I had to act quick, but I figured an issue of this magnitude would take up so much time to solve, I wouldn't have time to both fix my Mini Cooper and eliminate these destructive pests. So I took a deep breath and maximized my time by listening to this audiobook about organic pest control. I was able to listen to the entire 50-minute guide on the Audible app while wrenching on my Mini and develop a solid game plan with my newfound knowledge. While this listen was a bit unconventional, I regularly tune into stand-up comedy sets on Audible while I'm working on cars. It helps me consume very entertaining content and makes the time pass in a fun way. Dad is Fat by Jim Gaffigan is a funny memoir that lightens the mood a bit when I'm elbow deep in the engine bay of a Ferrari. And Audible has a lot more to consume than just audiobooks. Their Growing Plus catalog provides members access to thousands of Audible originals, guided fitness and meditation programs, sleep tracks, and more. And when you become an Audible member, you'll get 1 credit every month, good for any title in the entire premium selection of bestsellers and new releases, regardless of the price, to keep forever. You can start exploring Audible's vast library with a free 30-day trial right now when you visit audible.com/samcrack or text samcrack to 500-500. Especially if you're like me and short on time, I highly recommend Audible to keep you entertained while on the go. Again, that's audible.com/samcrack. I'll drop some links in the description box for you to check out, and I've got to give a huge thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video. Well, I went out and laid down some organic pesticide around the barn to try and control the worm problem. It turns out the end solution is always Mother Nature. Ibises made the trip to the all-you-can-eat worm buffet and made lunch of these pests. I went out to personally thank them and learned quickly it's just best I leave them alone.
Aw, man.
The chickens even did their part to clean up around the barn. After a week or so, these worms disappeared and the pastures grew green again. It was a huge sigh of relief. Finally, I could get back to figuring out exactly what was wrong with my new-to-me Jaguar XF R. Now, this Jag was super cheap, so I didn't really expect much from it. I figured it would be just like my old S-Type. Again, a really cheap car with enticing paper figures that really fails to deliver when you get behind the driver's seat. But I was totally wrong. Not only does this thing look way better, it drives incredible, and it has pretty modern amenities. When you get in the interior, everything is covered in leather, even the dashboard and the door trim. The headliner and pillars are covered in Alcantara. Just check out how awesome these seats look. They're heavily bolstered, really thick and comfortable. They've got a million different ways of adjustment, and I love the R logo that's embossed in the center. Now, to be fair, it's pretty easy to find used luxury cars with nice interior appointments under 10 grand, but what's tough is to find this nice interior paired with an incredible driving experience, and that's exactly what you get from the supercharged 5-liter V8. This makes 510 horsepower. It's mated to a ZF 6-speed transmission, and ZF makes all the new modern transmissions that are good. This thing shifts smooth and it shifts fast. In a very short period of time, this car has convinced me that the Jaguar XF is by far the best sports sedan deal on today's market. Is it as good as an M5 or an E63? Probably not, even though all the car magazines compared this car to those cars, but I think it will do about 95% of the things those cars will do at 50% of the cost. Now, a few numbers. This is a 2012. It's got a few more than 80,000 miles on it. It's got a decent service history. It came with 2 keys from the auction, and it only cost $7,200, which is absurd because a 2012 M5 or E63 is probably going to be closer to $30,000. The reason this one was so cheap is because the auction inspector marked it with an engine knock. Now that $7,200 figure was this car's buy it now price, and I pulled the trigger as quick as possible. Even though I knew nothing about the Jaguar XF, I know all too much about its engine. It's the same exact motor that comes in all the supercharged Range Rovers, even the one that I just failed to fix. It's made by Ford, and besides its timing guide failures, there's an extremely common and well-documented issue that causes this knocking noise that was likely heard by the auction inspector. It's all very common on supercharged Land Rover and Jaguar models, and even other brands that use the same Eaton supercharger. The noise isn't actually inside the engine at all.
Now if we pull the cover off and listen closely, that noise is coming from right in here. Now this belt is sitting on the supercharger pulley. The pulley is on the end of the supercharger snout. The snout goes all the way back till about right here, where you can see that bolt right there? That is bolted into the supercharger. In the snout itself is a coupler. That coupler is attached to the rotors that spin around in the supercharger, and the coupler is our failure point here. You see, it's comprised of a couple pieces. A hard piece of plastic with a spring. That spring generally will fall out of place, or the plastic itself will crack inside the coupler, and when it's spinning, it makes that nasty noise. Now, the aftermarket's come up with a permanent solution to this issue, and that's the single piece coupler. There's no longer a spring inside here to fall out, make any sort of noise. Also, it's made out of a softer durometer plastic. So while it's still really hard, I can't flex it. If the supercharger is under high demand, you really mash the pedal and this spins kind of harsh, it can move a little bit better, and it's not just going to crack apart when it gets old.
From what I understand, if you go to the dealership looking for a solution to that coupler noise, they're going to want to charge you for an entire new supercharger or even supercharger snout plus installation. We're talking about thousands of dollars because they don't offer just the coupler. Like I showed you, that aftermarket piece is something you got to get online, but it only costs 20 bucks. So this is one of those jobs that you're going to want to DIY if you land upon a 5-liter supercharged Land Rover or Jaguar. It will only take you a couple hours to pull the supercharger off the top of the engine. It's not real difficult. If you've ever taken an intake manifold off a car, it's a very similar job. Now, I'm not going to install the coupler quite yet, and that's because I plan on modifying this car. I want to get a smaller supercharger pulley, and while the supercharger's out, we could do the pulley and the coupler at the same time. I'm going to do that all at hopefully Eurocharge, because they do have a tune for this platform, and it's going to get this car right around the 600 horsepower range. I'm pretty sure the major ill effect from a busted coupler is just that nasty noise. It doesn't really affect the drivability of the car, and it's not going to further break something else. But what I do want to do right now is take care of a service on this car. I don't know when the last time I had an oil change was, and it's very important on these engines that they have routine maintenance. As I showed you during the Land Rover series, one of the other issues is related to the timing system components, specifically the timing chain guides that can get worn down, create slack in your chain, and then you'll go out of time. What I saw firsthand and really learned while taking apart the Land Rover engine, it seems that these timing chain failures might be caused due to poor lubricity. So there's oil passages all over this engine, and there's a few specific ones right around the timing gears that seem to get caked up with sludge. Even the Land Rover I had that had decent service had a good amount of sludge on those engine bolts. So I'm going to do something I never really do and do an engine flush while we're doing our oil change, and on top of it I'm going to put in a friction modifier which should reduce the friction on those timing components. This is stuff, again, that I don't know how necessary it is, but if it does work, and that's a big if, it's a really cheap insurance to have on a car like this.
We've got everything rigged up here to start extracting our oil. Now Jags, especially the modern ones, are built to have oil extracted. You see the oil filter is on the top side of the car. So they build in this handy little pickup tube right underneath the oil cap. You see that little silver guy there? So I found this old piece of hose which is perfect to just slip over, make a nice tight fit the oil tube there, and then we'll just kick on our extractor and we should start to see oil. Yep, there comes some oil. Now this pump was made in mind with a lot of cars that have batteries in the front of the car, and this Jag, the battery I'm pretty sure is located in the trunk. So I do have a separate car battery here, but in a lot of cases in engine bays there's still a place to jump start a car where you could hook it up. In this car I have no clue where it is, so I'm just using this external battery. Now we're going to shut this off right here. No, we haven't nearly got the 8 or so quarts of oil out of this car yet that it has, but I just wanted to make a little bit of room for our engine flush, which we've got right here. We're going to fill things back up, and then we're going to run the car for a little bit. All right, we're going to run this for 5 minutes. Now this noise is pretty well unchanged. The goal again here is to get that flush in the system, get it to run through the cam gears, through the oil passages, and free up as much of that sludge that's in there as possible.
Now, if you've never changed your oil using an extraction pump, I want you to go look under the hood of your car and see if you've got an oil filter housing on top of the engine. A lot of engines have them on the underside, and that's why you change the oil from underneath. But if you happen to have a Volkswagen or something else European that does have a top side oil filter, I highly recommend you get an oil extraction pump. It makes the job way cleaner and way easier. You can buy a pump that has its own container, so it will suck the oil right into a container. And if you start doing your oil changes yourself, you'll save a lot of money. So again, I highly recommend this method if your car has one of these topside oil filters. Now we're about to take this Jaguar out on the road, but before we do, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. When you change your oil, have you ever used one of these friction modifiers? And if you have you noticed any difference? I've seen some cool videos on Project Farm's channel where he shows how it will reduce the engine temperatures and things like that. What does that ultimately translate to? But I want to hear from you guys who have used things like engine flush and friction modifiers. A little shifter knob pops up there. That is really cool. I wonder if anybody's ever had a failure of this and if it leaves you stranded if it does break. Let's just hope it doesn't ever break while I own the car. Now, I want to show you the best way, at least in my opinion, to drive an S-Type R. You shift to S, and then there's this button right here with a checkered flag on it. That's your dynamic mode or your sports mode. But if you want things even a little wilder, you hold the traction button here. Takes a little while, probably about 10-15 seconds, but it will actually defeat the traction system 100%. Something that you couldn't do on old Jaguars. You see it says DSC or Dynamic Stability Control off. It is indeed off. You could even pull the fuse in the old Jaguars, like my old S-Type R, and I'm telling you, it would do absolutely nothing. Now, the last thing you want to do is you want to flick one of the paddle shifters here and put it into full manual mode. The other thing I notice about the transmission in this car, it holds the gears as if you're driving a real manual. Yeah, it's a 6-speed automatic, like I said earlier, but it works incredible for an automatic transmission. We're gonna warm things up here a little bit, and I'm just gonna show you how wild this car can get. All right, we're in first gear. Let me show you how this thing gets down. And I mean, the shifts are lightning fast. And the crazy thing is that's me shifting the gears. A lot of these modern automatics, when you hit the rev limiter, they'll change gears for you automatically. This thing will hold the gear like a true manual. It is incredible. Now here's the other incredible thing about this car. It's gotta be like, what, 4,000 pounds? It brakes and turns like a sports car. It comes out of the corners like insane. This car is just downright wild. Now, even though we're in Mexico, we want to be considerate of the people that live here. But this car, the closest thing I can compare it to that I've driven is a more refined E55 AMG, but it's not super refined. And that's what I think makes this a great sports sedan. Right now we're cruising, it's quiet, it's very smooth, it's comfortable, there's air conditioning and heated seats, a heated steering wheel, basically every single feature you could really ever want, and a car that wakes up when you mash the throttle. And besides being able to share with you the experience of what a car like this Jaguar XF R is like to drive and own, I also like to share the experience with you of replicating a very similar deal like I snagged here. And to be completely honest, it's going to be very difficult to find another XF R with the facelifted body, with reasonable miles and decent cosmetic condition, and no title brand issues. This was an absolute steal, and I attribute that to being a perfect storm-like scenario. It was a bad market due to the pandemic. combined with the fact that it had this engine knock, and the dealership just wanted to wholesale it and get rid of it. That's why it was so cheap. But you can come close to replicating this car around the $7,200 mark, and here's exactly how you do it. Instead of shopping for an XFR, don't leave it out of your searches, but add into your search the Jaguar XF Supercharged from 2010 and up. It's got the same exact engine and transmission as this car, and it's just detuned a little bit in the computer so that, well, they can mark a higher number on this and charge you more for it when you're buying it new. The XF Supercharged is likely going to be a bit more plush, whereas this is tuned to be a little bit more sporty, probably a little bit smaller wheels, but you're going to get the same decent brakes and basically about 80% of the amenities that this car comes with. And if it's a well-optioned XF Supercharged, well, it's going to come with probably 95 or 100% of the amenities that this car has. Then you're going to take that XF Supercharged and you're going to bring it to a tuner who can flash that computer to the XFR software. Many people have done it, and it bumps the power numbers up to that 510 crank horsepower number. But if you want to go even further than that, you can do a supercharger pulley upgrade like you could do on this car and get closer to 600 crank horsepower, near 500 at the wheels. All that for a car that's under $10,000. It drives incredibly, looks pretty darn good, and just is overall something you would never be able to match in the realm of Mercedes, BMW, or Audi. Well, I think it's an incredible deal, and if you do as well, be sure to hit that like button. I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. What other cars do you want to see me gamble on at the auctions? I kind of like this $1,000 to $5,000 price range. Cars with clean titles and mechanical failures of some sort. Even though the Jaguar was a little bit over that $5,000 budget, this paid off huge. I'm always actively seeking cool cars like this that need simple fixes. So again, let me know. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, where I post pictures of cars like the Jaguar and other auction gambles before anything goes live here on YouTube, visit me right here or click the link in the description box below. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon.